Hello. Morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever the hell you're watching this, and welcome to our draft analysis for Season 6 of the PDL. We are back for another season. We're going to be doing some more fun, making some draft plans, doing the do. You know how we do. Every season's just the same. So we're doing it again. Originally, I was unsure if I wanted to do another season, but since we're starting pretty early on, I thought we wouldn't start until the new year, but since we're starting pretty early, I figured I would sign up for another season, have a little fun with it. So this season is going to be a bit, not different, but it's going to be a bit more of a longer season, because rather than doing what we normally do, which is doing a 10 match season, we are instead doing a 13 match season. So that way we have a full season, everyone gets a chance to play everyone, so that way everyone has the same amount of matches, everyone fights each opponent, and there's no worry about missing out on a certain opponent. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to take a look at what I drafted, the Pokemon I use, kind of give my insights on how I want to use them or how I might plan to use them, and yeah, just go with that. So I had different plans for a team I wanted to draft, but those plans were destroyed pretty early on by us losing a major component to that team. In fact, it was the component we were building entirely around, so we had to end up switching to some backup plans. So we got our backup plans here, but they're still good plans. I still think that I've made a solid team out of this. There are some things that I think might be a bit on the weak side. I won't bring those out entirely because I don't want to give my opponents an advantage already if they watch this, but hey, still nice to go over the team here, show you all what I've been working on, what we've been doing. I'm actually gonna slide you guys a bit closer so that way you can hear my luscious voice as I'm talking. And there we go. So yeah, let us get underway. We're gonna start off with the first Pokemon, which is Landorus Therian form. So if you've played any Pokemon, you know that LandoT is a bit of an infamous Pokemon. It's known for being highly used. It's very strong, it's a great defensive unit, which makes a lot of sense. It's just in general a very good Pokemon, so it's great for what we're using. Originally, I had planned Tier 1 Gliscor for this role, because we just moved Gliscor up and I kind of wanted to try him out. But we ended up grabbing LandoT instead because someone else took Gliscor, so it's fine. So LandoT obviously has an incredible attack stat, as you can see, base 145 attack, has decent special attack as well in case I want to mix it up, maybe run a special week of sorts. It's got Intimidate for an ability which can make it a great physical wall alongside its base 90 defense, which might not seem like a lot, but with a attack drop it's going to be pretty good. And we have a solid move pool. Obviously we have ground and a few flying moves. We also have a ton of other moves, including Dark, we have Steel, we have Poison, we have Dragon, Psychic. This Pokemon just has a giant move pool that it can use to its advantage. Whether it be as a bulky offense, whether it be as just a defensive wall who can set up rocks, whether it be as a setup sweeper, a choiced attacker, whatever its role may be, it can fill any role pretty well. So yeah, I think it's a great first Mon on the team, really sort of an all-around Mon that I could see myself bringing almost every week to just kind of polish up some late game kills or just be a nice wall for a few of our threats. So yeah, all in all, looking like a pretty solid Mon to start off the draft with. And we're going to continue that idea of solid walls with the opposite end of the spectrum with Galarian Slowking. Galarian Slowking is a Pokemon I've kind of wanted to play around with ever since it dropped in the second Sword and Shield DLC, and now we're finally getting our chance because it is a great pair when it comes to our Mega, which we will get into within a few picks. So Megas, or not Mega, Galar Slowking here is a pretty solid Pokemon, as you can see. It's got great special attack and great special defense. Its normal defense isn't awful either, so it can use that. Curious Medicine won't be used because that's the Devil's ability. Own Tempo is very, very conditional, so we probably won't use it often or at all. But it does have the added bonus of our Generator, which is whenever I swap this thing out, it gains a third of its health back as soon as it comes back in, which is always going to be great for just being a wall that just kind of pivots around. I wish it actually had a pivoting move, but hey, we can make do. But yeah, Galar Slowking is going to kind of be on the opposite end of the spectrum from LandoT. It's going to be a special wall who prioritizes with special offense, with a ton of moves, obviously Poison Psychic, but it also has a lot of fire moves. It has a few ghost moves, a few ice moves, a few water moves. It just has a nice pool of coverage and is a great sort of special wall to pair up with both LandoT and our Mega, who is sort of the main component to this team. So it's very nice to see all of that work out. So yeah, I hope to pair this up nicely and use a lot of power on this Mon, because it's going to be one of our main special attackers. Next up, we have a returner from Season 3 of the Platinum Draft League for our team, and that is the boy Hitmontop. So I used Hitmontop before. Originally, I thought it was a bit underwhelming, but I've took some time and I've used it a bit in my off time, just sort of playing online matches on Showdown, and I realized it has a different niche than I originally pinned it for, and I hope that I can use it a bit better this season. So for Hitmontop, obviously it has two nice abilities in both Intimidate and Technician, allowing me to either be defensive, dropping some attack and then kind of taking some of those hits, or it can be offensive with Technician, boosting its priority and other moves that can give it a lot of damage, including boosted Triple Axle, which is great for taking down a lot of dragons or flyings if they come in on us. So yeah, having double Intimidate is going to be nice, because if there's anything that ever poses a super big physical threat, I can always swap in double Intimidate and just keep chipping away at that thing's extraordinary attack stat and just kind of weakening it down. Excuse me, I don't know why I got so tired as soon as I booted this bad boy up. So yeah, I think Hitmontop will be very useful. It is, alongside Galar King, a great pick for our Mega, which again, we'll get to. I've been hyping it up a lot, but it's a very interesting Mega, which I hope to use effectively. But anyways, Hitmontop, hoping for a redemption arc for our boy, hoping he pulls out better than he has in the past, and I can actually use him effectively. So, we will see about that. Next up, we have our Galarian Corsola. I realize I drafted a lot of Galarmons this season, but hey, it works out. So Galarian Corsola is just going to be overall sort of our utility mon. Throw an Eviolite on this thing and it is super hard to take down unless you have knockoff, which is probably going to be very prevalent. But yeah, this thing's just going to be general utility. You can pass around statuses such as Will-O-Wisp for Toxic. It can run Nightshade for that consistent damage. It's got Strength Sap to both lower the opponent's attack and heal itself passively, which is very nice. But yeah, this thing just has a lot of useful utility, so that's because its main role is a utility mon. We could run a bit of offense if it's possible, which it could be possible a couple weeks where we might need a bit of a ghost offense for a couple of these stronger mons out there. I don't think it's going to happen often, but it could happen. It's a possibility, even though we're rocking that nice base 65 special attack, which is always very useful. But we do have some nice ghost stabs, and we do have some nice overall coverage, along with all of our utility to kind of make this a decent Pokemon to have around. Just being a pest to the enemy, especially if they're not running knockoff, trying to kill this thing will be very, very difficult. So yeah, that'll definitely be a fun mon to sort of make people angry with. Because I've been mad at a Galarian Corsola, and I guarantee I can make other people mad at it. So that'll be fun. I have to cut all these yawns out. You know what? I'll just leave them in. Whatever. Next up, we have our third and I believe final Galarian of this draft. That's a lie. We have much more Galar in the back. I'm lying straight to your faces. But it's Cinderace, the fire type starter. So Cinderace is a very interesting mon. Obviously, this is a nice base 119 speed tier, which is the highest speed tier on our team. A bit slower than I might like, but it's still a pretty good speed tier to have in the bag. Great attack stat. Blaze is an interesting ability, but the main thing here is Libero, which is just like Protein. If you don't know what Protein is, it basically, as soon as a Pokemon uses a specific move, the Pokemon then becomes that type. So that means it technically has stab everything it has access to, and we can constantly change our typings around to work around with opponents' super effectiveness. So that'll be very nice. But yeah, Cinderace can abuse its great speed and attack for its wide variety of coverage, including fighting. It has Dark, it has U-turn for nice bug, it has Psychic, it has some flying in there, it has some poison in there, it has some ground and some ghost in there. It just has a very wide pool of coverage that I can just kind of reach around, pull different things of, and pull out a nice set. It also has a very unique hazard control and court change, which basically makes it so that I can take all hazards on my side and trade them over to my opponent's side and vice versa. So if my opponent tries to hazard stack me, I can just bring in my Cinderace, flip that bad boy around, and then all of a sudden his hazard stack is now my hazard stack, which is going to be great chip for a big physical attacker like Cinderace here. So yeah, hopefully I can play around with Protein a bit, sort of make some use out of that. I don't really think we'll be running Blaze often. I think always Protein is almost better. There might be rare situations where I might want Blaze, but we'll have to wait and see. Next up, we're finally getting to that Mega that I've been talking so much hype on, and that is Mega Sharpedo. So Mega Sharpedo is a very, very interesting Pokemon. Obviously, as you can see, pre-Mega, it has a rough skin, which is not very useful with its kind of lackluster defenses, but Speed Boost is a great ability, where every turn this mon is on the field, it gains a +1 to its speed, so it can just keep gaining speed, and then once we Mega, we can hold on to that speed, and then we can just use its Strong Jaws ability to increase its powerful biting moves, which will be very, very useful. The only problem, obviously, is that if we swap out while we're Mega, we lose any of our speed boosts that we get, which could be troublesome, but also base 105 speed is nothing to scoff at in this league. But yeah, we have a wide variety of move pool, and thanks to the Sword and Shield DLC updates, we have an even wider move pool, which gives us tons and tons of coverage across the board. We get strong things, like we get some nice priority with Aqua Jet, we get close combat for coverage, Scale Shot for speed boosting if we're already Mega'd. We get obviously our Great Water Stab, boost for things like Crunch and Psychic Fangs, which will be very, very useful. So yeah, this thing just has a lot of coverage I want to kind of play around with. Plus also it does have decent special attack with its base 110 special, so we could end up pulling a bit of a switcheroo, maybe make a mixed or a full special set to kind of abuse people who are trying to build for a physical set. So we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I'm hoping that Mega Sharpedo puts in the work I think it's capable of, because it's a mon I've kind of been excited to use for a while now. So thankfully, I got the chance to use it this season. So hopefully it pulls off what I'm hoping it can pull off. Anyways, next up we have some more utility to the team with our boy Klefki, the fun little keys. So Klefki is a mon I've always been hesitant for because having your primary steel and primary fairy being both on the same slot and both as a Klefki is kind of scary, but hey, we can make do. But yeah, Klefki is going to be a great sort of utility to add to the team thanks to its prankster ability, which gives us +1 priority on all of our status moves. Obviously, dark types are immune to it, but still, this will be a great thing to sort of do some setup with. It got spikes, so we can have priority spike setting. We can get things like statuses like Toxic or Thunder Wave. We can set up switcheroos to switch around items and just sort of make an opponent's day a little bit worse. We also have some nice stabs in here. Our attack, while on the lower end, is still a useful attack stat, so we can use some nice steel and some nice fairy moves to get in a bit of damage. Plus we have some coverage with things like poison. We have Magnet Rise, which can bring us up to make us immune to ground moves. We have some setup with things like Combine, which obviously will be prankster boosted, because I don't think we're ever really gonna run Magician. That just doesn't seem like an ability we can use. But yeah, I definitely think Klefki is an interesting pick. Obviously, like I said, a bit scary to have our primary steel and primary fairy on one slot, but hey, if I need to, I can always switch around the team, try to find another steel or another fairy, just kind of toss them on there for some extra coverage. Who knows? But yeah, I think Klefki is going to be a fun mon to play around with, and another thing to kind of get the team set up for some of our better threats to go through and do some breaking and sweeping. So yeah. Next up, we have Rotomo. So Rotomo, obviously a nice little Rotom form. Grass and Electric is a very interesting type combo. We do have Levitate, which makes us immune to ground moves, but in the case there is a Mold Breaker Pokemon, we still have that neutrality thanks to our grass typing. Excuse me. I've played around mainly with some other Rotoms. I played around a lot with Wash, and I played around a lot with Heat. I haven't played around a lot with Mo, but it does have very similar stuff. It has obviously same stats, almost the identical move pool, obviously main thing being it has Leaf Storm instead of the other signature moves it would have. The main difference here is that defensively, Grass is kind of a mixed bag of a defensive typing. It does have some very key resists, but it also has a lot of weaknesses and a lot of resists, so it's definitely a very interesting Pokemon, but it can pass around Will-O-Wisps. It can be a nice defogger to get rid of some hazards. It can throw on a Scarf to be a nice little Scarf attacker, kind of catch things off guard who aren't expecting me to be so fast. Can do sit up with Nasty Plot. We have just a lot here, and as we've seen in the past, Rotomo can put in some decent work. I've seen people put in work with Rotomo. In fact, we just saw it last season. So hopefully I'll be able to also put in some work with the Rotomo, and he will be able to show us what they are capable of. Should be lots and lots of fun. Next up, we have our second to last Galar Pokemon, which is Frostmoth. So Frostmoth is an interesting Pokemon, obviously combining two of the worst defensive types in Bug and Ice is pretty interesting combo. But it can definitely be useful in some scenarios, especially with its signature ability Ice Scales, which makes it so that any special attacks that hit us are reduced by half, kind of making this a pseudo special wall. So having that in there is going to be nice. We do have Shield Dust, which can be useful for secondary effects if we're going up against things like Serene Grace Mons, which there are a few in this season. So if they're running some Serene Grace and I want to try and avoid that, I can run that Shield Dust if I need to. But yeah, this is going to be this is actually our highest special attack on the team. So it can kind of put in some nice special work, especially with setup from Calm Mind, or I believe it gets Quiver Dance. It does. So I think we're always running Quiver Dance instead of Calm Mind, because it's just Calm Mind but with a speed boost also. So yeah, having Quiver Dance set up in the back with some decent coverage, including some Grass, we have some Fairy, some Psychic. It's another U-turner, it can be a defogger. Obviously, being both Bug and Ice, we do take half health from any Stealth Rock, so that can be a bit dangerous, and it might force us into Boots a little more than I would like, but it's definitely a possible bring overall for the season. So I think it's going to be an interesting mon. Don't know how often it will make a lot of use, but I think it is something that will have its shining moments when they come. And then next up we have our final Galarian, which is the newly introduced Reggie Drago. So the boy Reggie Drago is a very interesting mon. Obviously he's dragon typing, which is very good defensively, very meh offensively. We have an insane HP stat at base 200. I think this is the third highest HP stat behind Blissey and Chansey, so that's pretty nice. And we have the signature ability Dragon's Maw, which gives us an extra stab boost on top of our already stab boost when we use any dragon type moves, which is just insane. So getting just getting double strength dragon moves is very awesome, and it has its unique ability of a unique move of Dragon Energy, which does more damage the more HP we have. So we could end up running a Scarf set, just running some Dragon Energy, and then just absolutely obliterating anything that comes in our path. So this thing's mainly going to be here as kind of a niche dragon typing to have in the back, but it does have some interesting stuff. It does have D-Dance with some decent coverage with things like Fire Fang and Hammer Arm. It does have Skill Shot for speed boosts. Its special is mainly just dragon. It does have a few others, but they're mainly just normal. So it's going to be interesting to see sort of how Reggie Drago plays out. It's a mon I was a bit hesitant of just because of its kind of lackluster move pool, but I think it'll be able to do its job decent enough as a nice dragon type to just have on the team. Because every draft team should have a dragon type on it, so make note of that. If you do not have a dragon on your draft team, get one, even if it's a low tier like Reggie Drago. But yeah, with all of our Galarians out of the way, we can move on to the final two, with the second to last pick being Ambipom. So Ambipom, I mainly drafted because of its nice base 115 speed tier, making a nice little speed tier just behind Cinderace. It has two solid abilities in Technician, which boosts lower power moves, and Skill Link, which makes any multi-hits hit maximum amount of times, which can be very, very useful, especially for some of its stabs like Tail Slap, just giving us a base 120 normal move, 125 normal move, very nice. But yeah. So this mon is kind of a niche pick. Like I said, I mainly grabbed it for its good speed tier, but it is a nice knockoffer. It does have some U-turn, so it could be used for some fast utility late down the line, especially with statuses like Thunder Wave and Toxic. It does have a good pool of coverage. It has some nice fire moves, it has a few grass moves, a few fighting moves, some electric moves. There's a nice little pool there that we can definitely make use of, and then using that Technician boost to make some of our weaker things a bit stronger, like getting strong priority with our Fake Out, or boosting, what can we boost? We can boost Tail Slap, but I think it might be better just to run Skilling for that. I guess Technician is kind of niche. We could always use it for a special set if we really want to, because this thing has access to some nice special moves with Technician boosted would be a lot stronger, but we'll have to see. So yeah. Gonna be kind of a pick to keep in the back, but definitely something to watch out for, especially with that speed tier. Could always be a threat down the line, or just some good fast utility to keep in the back. And now we move on to the final Pokemon of our draft, which is our Alolan Golem. Look at this guy. What a lord this is. What a Chad with that awesome facial hair. So Alolan Golem is a very interesting Pokemon. It has the unique type combo of Rock Electric, which makes it a great check to flying types and makes it a bag check to ground types, which is very unique. It also has the interesting ability of Galvanize, which makes it so that any normal moves that we use have become electric typing, and they get a small power boost alongside the stab boost that they get. So we can run super strong electric moves or normal stab technically. That'll be electric with things like Facade. Could run an Explosion just to get a threat out of the way if we really wanted to. We have a lot of electric and a lot of rock moves. We do have some decent coverage as well with things like fire moves, we have fighting moves, we have steel moves, we have ground moves. This can also be useful to do magnet pull shenanigans, lock something in. Like, I know there's a few threats out there, including Aegislash, which is the Pokemon I originally built around, but got sniped from me. I believe we also have a nice little Corviknight running around, so that'll be great for that. So yeah, I think definitely Alolan Golem will have its shining moments. It is a Pokemon that will probably stay in the back a lot, but it could be a nice threat down the line, especially in the right case where there's a Pokemon that we just don't want to deal with, and we just want to let that Alolan Golem just kind of end the suffering, so we don't have to deal with that Pokemon anymore. But yeah, so that's the team for this season. I hope you're all excited. We're using a lot of different Pokemon. In fact, we only have one returner, so it's going to be interesting to see how I pull off all of these different Pokemon. But yeah, so for the first week, it might be a bit longer than expected because of the Thanksgiving holidays coming up. You might have to wait an extra week for the PDL video, so I hope that's not a big deal, but me and the rest of the PR squad, we are agreeing, and we're going to be working on the PR video. So you might even see that before the actual first match, which could be nice. But yeah, hope you're all super excited. If you still like this series, that's great. Hope you're excited for another season. If you don't like the series, too bad. I'm still going to make it, no matter what you think. But yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you may be watching this, and goodbye.